he's all said in the past as well.
I think so. He is no longer a Canadian citizen. He renounced his Canadian citizenship to become a Lord. However, because of his contribution to Canada and everything he's done in Canada, I think he'd be eligible to come. However, because of his conviction, he has to apply for what is called a temporary resident permit. A temporary resident permit is a special document that allows someone with a criminal conviction to enter Canada. So he has to go through the regular process, like everybody else.
Could you talk about that process? What's involved?
Well, basically, we call it a TRP. He would have to go to the Canadian consulate. He would have to make an application explaining why it is he's deserving of entry to Canada despite his criminal offense. It's a need versus risk analysis. What is the need for him to enter Canada? What is the risk of him causing any problems in Canada or reoffending, etc.? I mean, the need, in my opinion, outweighs the risk substantially. I mean, because everything he's done for Canada, he was considered made as the Order of Canada. I think he'll be fine.
Now, at what level would this be handled by bureaucrats, or would it be handled by politicians? His request.
Well, in the first instance, it's handled by bureaucrats, and it's an application that goes, as I said, to the Canadian consulate. It's a formal application that everyone has to be made. Now, it's Conrad Black's application, so I'm sure it'll be looked at by the powers that be. But I can assure you that it's going to have to go through the regular channels in the first instance.
And that means what? It's examined by senior members of the Canada Immigration Department?
Yeah, well, it goes to the Canadian consulate. There'll be an officer there who will be in charge of assessing this temporary resident permit application, whether or not it's deserving of an approval or denial. If the officer has a criteria that they have to go through to make an evaluation as to whether or not the application should be approved or not. I think that, as I said, given his contribution, the officer is likely going to approve the application. If there's a problem, if the officer, in the unlikely event, believes that he doesn't think that it is deserving, believe me, Conrad Black will likely escalate it through his lawyers, and it may go political.
One of the things that would disqualify a person who is not a Canadian citizen is a criminal conviction. Now, he's just served almost 4 years in jail in the United States for a conviction involving fraud and obstruction of justice.
Right.
Some people would consider that a serious criminal conviction. And as such, why would they just not dismiss the claim and say, sorry, you don't meet the criteria?
Well, I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, there's a lot of applicants who have even more serious criminal convictions. He was convicted of fraud. Some of these applicants for entry to Canada who are non-Canadians, in fact, who have never been Canadian citizens, are still admitted to Canada based on the TRP process, who have committed some offenses against the person, like, for example, assault charges or even something more serious. So I'm not saying his offense was not serious. It was a white-collar crime. But a lot of individuals who are convicted of offenses like his are nevertheless approved for entry based on the need versus risk assessment. So I think just because he is Conrad Black, even if he wasn't Conrad Black, even if he was just a regular applicant who is convicted of an offense like his, he would still have an opportunity and a chance for admission to Canada based on that offense. The fact that he has the notoriety that he has, it's going to definitely improve his chances of admission. I have no doubt.
Do you think politicians will be involved in this, the Minister of Immigration, for example?
I think they're going to be obviously notified that Mr. Black is applying for a TRP or admission to Canada. There's no doubt. But will they be involved to the extent of making decisions on the case? Most likely not. As I said, I think that the officer in charge of the case who gets his file will make that decision. I think the decision most likely will be a positive one. But will the Minister of Immigration be notified or be aware of an application pending? I would doubt that it wouldn't be the case. I'm sure it would